Did you know that for decades, Europe's energy security has been precariously tied to one single supplier? Russia. With a reliance on Russian natural gas reaching a staggering 41% before the war in Ukraine, the region's energy landscape has long been defined by both opportunity and vulnerability. But when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the cracks in this system widened dramatically, pushing Europe into one of its most significant energy crises. So, how did we get here? And more importantly, how is Europe navigating this energy crossroads? The story begins in the mid-20th century, when Europe's industrial expansion collided with the discovery of Russia's vast natural gas reserves. It made perfect sense. Russia's proximity, coupled with competitive pricing, made it an ideal supplier. Massive infrastructure projects like the Nord Stream pipelines were built, and contracts were signed, cementing a partnership that would flourish for decades. By 2020, natural gas made up nearly a quarter of Europe's energy mix, with Russia providing the lion's share. This partnership wasn't just about numbers. It was a strategic arrangement, born from geography and economics. But beneath the surface, the vulnerabilities were always there. Europe's heavy reliance on Russian gas placed enormous power in Moscow's hands, a risk that became painfully clear after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. Still, European nations hesitated to act decisively. Businesses benefited from cheap and stable gas supplies, and political leaders were reluctant to disrupt an arrangement that worked, even if it came with geopolitical risks. Then came February 2022, when Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine, and the dynamic shifted overnight. What had been an economic relationship suddenly became a question of security and morality. In response, Russia slashed its gas exports to Europe by 80%, weaponizing its energy resources to exert pressure on the West. For European countries like Germany and Italy, heavily dependent on Russian gas, this was nothing short of a wake-up call. Natural gas prices soared, leaving governments scrambling to secure alternative supplies. The immediate impact was devastating. Businesses faced closures, households struggled with skyrocketing energy bills, and entire industries teetered on the brink of collapse. By late 2023, the EU's monthly imports of Russian fossil fuels had plummeted from $16 billion to just $1 billion. But at what cost? The transition strained public finances and highlighted the fragility of an over-reliant energy system. Europe didn't just sit back, though. Recognizing the need for change, the EU launched a flurry of initiatives to diversify energy sources and enhance resilience. Renewable energy investments surged as nations pivoted to wind and solar power. Liquefied natural gas, LNG terminals, were rapidly constructed, enabling imports from suppliers like the US and Qatar. Partnerships with resource-rich countries like Norway and Algeria were strengthened, creating new trade routes and lessening dependence on Russia. Yet, despite these efforts, the road to energy independence has been anything but smooth. One of the biggest challenges has been infrastructure. Building LNG terminals or expanding renewable energy grids takes years and significant investment. Countries also faced logistical hurdles, such as transporting gas over long distances or integrating renewable energy into existing systems. Then there's market volatility. Global energy prices remain unpredictable, influenced by everything from geopolitical tensions to supply chain disruptions. And within Europe itself, political resistance has slowed progress in some regions, as economic dependencies on Russia persist. Even with these challenges, progress has been undeniable. By early 2024, Russia's share of European gas imports had dropped dramatically, accounting for only 18% of total imports and just 8% of pipeline gas. This decline underscores a seismic shift in Europe's energy strategy, but the battle is far from over. As winter approaches each year, the pressure to secure stable supplies mounts, testing the limits of Europe's newfound resilience. The story of Europe's dependence on Russian gas is a cautionary tale with important lessons for the future. Diversification isn't just about finding new suppliers, it's about rethinking the entire energy ecosystem. Europe has already begun this transformation with enhanced energy efficiency measures, ambitious renewable energy targets, and increased regional cooperation. For example, nations are pooling resources and coordinating policies to avoid energy shortages during crises. Such collaboration will be crucial as Europe continues to transition away from fossil fuels. At its heart, this crisis serves as a reminder that energy security isn't just about keeping the lights on. It's about sovereignty, stability, and sustainability. For Europe, the challenge is clear: to build a system that can withstand future shocks while moving toward a greener, more self-reliant future. But the question remains: will political will and technological innovation be enough to break free from the shadows of the past and secure a brighter energy future for the continent? Europe's journey to energy independence is far from over, but the progress so far shows that even in the face of adversity, transformation is possible. And as Europe writes the next chapter of its energy story, it does so with a clear lesson in mind. Dependency is a vulnerability, and resilience is the only path forward.